Hey everybody, so today I'm going to share our current homeschool schedule for the 2021-2022 homeschool year. Our schedule has changed every year, so let me chat a bit about what we're planning for this year. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to my channel if you're new here, or welcome back if you've been coming for a while. And so like I said, we're talking homeschool schedule today. And you can call it schedule or routine. I kind of use those interchangeably. I am never tied to the clock, but I use the clock to my benefit at the same time. So like I was saying, our schedule has changed every year, and it really just depends on the current season and the current needs of our family. So how I start making a schedule is I think about kind of two things. The first thing is how our time is normally spent. Like, what are our normal and natural rhythms and routines, and start from there. Don't try and look like someone else's homeschooler or what you think homeschool should look like. I think the best advice is to take what you've got and work up from there. So I always tend to do that is I kind of look at our current like snack times and lunch times and things like that. And then from there I start working up different schedules of kind of what each kid is going to be doing at each time and what I need to be doing with them. Like, how independent are they? Or is it math with this certain child, things like that. So I think about that. So I put it all together, and then I hold it really loosely and I try it out. And I say I give it a couple weeks, if not a month, to see what shakes out from it, because some things are going to be like, that works really well. And others are going to be like, I did not see that coming. There's no way I could have predicted that. We are not going to be able to do this. So anyway, that's how I approach making a schedule / routine. But let me get into what our routine is, because that's what you stopped on this video for. So I'm mostly going to share our daily schedule, but I'll mention kind of some unique weekly aspects to our schedule as well. I'm going to try and put up a graphic as I talk, just to make this easier to understand. So we start our day fairly early. I tend to want to wake up around 5:30 or 6 to kind of get up ahead of my kids and to read my Bible or work out and then shower and get ready. We don't let our kids out of their rooms until 7. And then we have breakfast loosely at 7:30. And here's a tip I've learned over the years, especially if you do a lot of lit-based curriculum or you want to read aloud a lot to your kids, is if you intend to do something over breakfast, make sure not to serve the kids until you're also serving yourself. Like, make sure you cook your own food so that it's ready at the same time that their food is ready, so it all goes out at one time, and that way you're all together. Because sometimes I feel like my kids speed eat, and by the time I get to the table I'm like, what? You're done? We haven't even started the things we wanted to start. So that's one tip. But anyway, breakfast at 7:30, and during that time I like to do Bible, calendar, and verse memorization. And I just recently put out our first day of school video, and you can see a good example of kind of this breakfast routine for us. And so we'll do those 3 things before we break for breakfast. And at that time, I let my kids kind of just scatter. They have to take their plates to the sink and everything like that. But then I tend to also clean up breakfast. I don't clean it really well. Sometimes it just goes in the sink. But I kind of want to do that quickly because I want to keep the momentum of school going. So I'd say around 8 o'clock, I start math with my son. And so we're using Singapore Math. And we're using the Math Live online program, which I'm planning on doing a video for. And so look for that. But I like to get him started on the computer, kind of watching the lesson, working through the textbook, moving himself over into his workbook and extra worksheets for that lesson. So he starts to work on it. I'm around because our schoolroom's attached to our kitchen, which I love. And so I can sometimes be finishing up the dishes as he's starting that. So I'm listening to the lesson. I know what she's teaching him, and I can go over there and kind of interact with him and make sure he understands it as he's transitioning to his worksheets. And so I will do that. And on the days he's really getting it and he's just kind of doing really well, I'll sometimes take advantage of that and I'll work with my twins. And so I'll grab them and we'll do a little bit of preschool. And at this point in the day, I usually tend to do their like letters and shapes and all the Abeka type stuff. And so we do the Abeka K3 at that point. And for example, like yesterday we were just doing colors. Like, we crunched up a bunch of construction paper and we're working on colors. So it's nothing too crazy. So I'm able to do that with my twins and just play with them and love them a little bit while my son is finishing up his math somewhat independently. And at this point in time, my middle daughter, who is 6, is off doing her chores and getting ready for the day. And so I apologize that I forgot to say their ages. My oldest son is 7.5, my middle daughter is 6, and my twins are 3.5. And so that's kind of the ages I'm working with. Anyway, so she's off doing her chores, he's doing his math, and sometimes we do preschool. So that's the situation starting in the morning. And then it switches. And so then I put my daughter on the computer to do her math while my son finishes his worksheets or does a few of his other items on his checklist that he can do independently, which I will have a video on the checklist as well. But anyway, so he's doing that. She's starting on the computer, and then she'll transition into doing her worksheets. And at this point in time, the twins are mostly just playing. And unless they have a cold or something's going on, they do a really good job of playing independently. And especially if I've done a little preschool with them, they're even better at that. And so that kind of rounds out our math blocks. I think of our day in terms of food and blocks. And so we had our breakfast and reading. And so we were doing our Sonlight reading, all the Bible reading. And then we went into the math block. Son, daughter, and then it gets about to snack time. So you're talking about 9:30 is snack time, and all the math should be done by that time. And then we go into 9:30 snack time, and so that's when I do our big read aloud, because I use Sonlight and it's history, Bible, literature. So this is our big read aloud for the week, is usually over snack time. So I pull everybody together. We do this wherever, outside, inside, on the couch. It doesn't really matter. Kind of depends on what kind of snack we're having, honestly. And then we read the read aloud. So we're able to get that done as a family. And then we go into kind of our second block, which is language arts. So language arts is between morning snack and lunchtime. And so at this point, this is where I decide who I'm going to pick, if it's either my daughter or son, and we go into language arts. And so we're talking kind of reading, spelling, handwriting, some grammar, early writing type things. And I will link their curriculum videos for you to get a little bit better taste of what we're using. But that block is really for language arts. And at this point, I'd say my twins are probably getting a little bit more squirrely. They're not playing as well by themselves. I mean, they do have each other, which is a plus for twins. But they also have each other and they can fight really easily. So that's a bit of a negative. But at this point, I tend to send whichever child I'm not working with to play with the twins. And if that's not working, I will put on a show for them. They can watch something like Curious George or whatever. And so I just kind of play that by ear. They don't always get a show, but that's the option for the kind of before lunch as we're wrapping up language arts, and they're kind of just done playing by themselves. And so that's what we do, is we do language arts for my son and daughter in that block. And then I start to prep lunch. And while I'm prepping lunch, I make sure to prep for myself as well as the kids, because again, I want to take advantage of food and eating time to get in some more reading aloud. And so then I'll serve lunch around noon, maybe a little bit after, depending on how language arts went usually. And so then we do lunch, and during lunch is when I tend to do our science and history reading. And I'll get into this when I talk a little bit more about our weekly schedule. I either do history or science, but not both in the same day. And that's when I'll read those, and we'll do either the timeline if it's history, or some of the science worksheets if it's science. And that should be it for our day. And at this point, sometimes we'll have a little leftover of language arts, and I'll just kind of wrap that up with the kids. But I don't want to go too much more than that, because 1 o'clock is pretty much our deadline, because that's the twins' nap time and the big kids' quiet time. And that's my quiet time. I need that time of the day. And so usually from about 1 to 2:30 is nap time, quiet time. And the last potential thing that we will do is after nap time, I'll pull the twins onto the couch and we'll read a little bit of their Sonlight preschool books, because they're just so fun. And the big kids come in, and it's a lot of nursery rhymes and fairy tales and things like that. And so we'll do that maybe at the end of the day, just kind of see how things are going. But a lot of the stuff is pretty much done by 1 o'clock. So that is our general schedule for the day. Now, there are some things that throw this off during the week. Some of those things are preschool and enrichment school. So I have the twins signed up for twice a week morning preschool. And then I have the big kids in a full day enrichment school, which I've talked about on this channel. It's a fantastic publicly funded school for homeschoolers, for them to do all their enrichment stuff like messy art, science, PE, all the things. It's fantastic. So we do have 1 day. So that schedule I just shared with you is 4 of our 5 days for the most part. The other day is enrichment school day. And so we have some preschool to deal with and we have enrichment school. Also, additionally, I have set it up that my in-laws come and take the twins on Wednesdays just to play with them and be with them. And I take advantage of that because that is our science experiment day. So I have more time with the big kids. We can do more messy stuff. And so that's our science experiment day is on Wednesdays. And then I have a tentative enrichment loop, which I shared in our family subjects. And this I just really want to get to. It's all the art and fairy tales and poetry and things. I have that scheduled currently for Friday mornings before enrichment school because enrichment school is not till like 9:15. So we'll see how that goes. I'll keep you updated on that. But those are kind of the things that make our days a little bit different. But for the most part, they go in those blocks of like breakfast and Bible reading, math block, snack and read aloud reading, language arts block, lunch and history and science reading, and then finish it off with an experiment or anything extra, and then quiet time. So I think it makes a lot of sense and it works fairly well. Sometimes it doesn't work as well and we kind of have to roll with it, but so far so good. So anyway, that is our 2021-2022 school year homeschool schedule with a 7.5-year-old, a 6-year-old, and 2 3-year-olds. So please let me know down below, how do you schedule? Is it more routine? Is it more based on the clock? Let me know because I'm always curious and I feel like I can always glean good tips from all of you. So anyway, that's what I have and I will see you in the next homeschool video. All right, take care. Bye.